Welcome to the Success Ascent. My name is Pat Mancuso, the creator host of our show. Today we welcome Mr. Rodney Flowers. Rodney is a best-selling keynote speaker, a resilience trainer, and an author of the great book, Get Up, I Can't, I Will, I Did, Here's How. I have to share with you, our episode today with Rodney was amazing. He shared many tips, many strategies, mindset, and frankly, he shared how to get out and overcome any challenge or obstacle you're facing, because he did. He was paralyzed at age 15, and he was basically told he would never walk again. Not only did he overcome that obstacle, now he's impacting thousands and thousands of lives. I know you're going to enjoy the episode today, so on to the ascent. Welcome to the Success Ascent. My name is Pat Mancuso, the creator and host of our show, and we are excited that you are with us today. I have a very special guest with you today, and his name is Rodney Flowers. Now, before I actually bring up Rodney on, I'm going to just tell you a little bit about Rodney, and then I'm going to play a short clip, because I love when I can take a little bit of what's out there and add that to our session. So let me tell you this. First, few are blessed to know their purpose in life. As a young man, Rodney Flowers was certain of his, and then it all changed. Let's watch.
Change the game in some area of your life or business is this one word: resilience. When you look at great entrepreneurs, leaders, innovators, politicians, or humanitarians, they never accepted the conditions. They created their own conditions. They created a new road to seemingly impossible conclusions. I was a 15-year-old football star. It was my very first game of the season, and my team was set for the third quarter kickoff, and I was lined up on the right side of the field. As the ball was kicked off, I ran down the field as fast as I could, and as I approached my opponent's 40-yard line, I noticed the kick returner heading towards my side of the field. It felt like I was running like the wind until I made contact with the runner. Boom! I felt the runner go down. I too went down. But something didn't feel right about this. It felt like all of the energy and power literally jumped out of my body. And then I realized I could no longer feel any of my extremities. Life began for me as a quadriplegic on that field that day. And the doctor said I had a 92% chance of remaining that way for the rest of my life.
Rodney, I'll tell you, what an incredible story. So let me just share a little bit more with our listeners. So told he would never walk again, Rodney was dragged through the darkest depths of hopelessness, but managed to defy the odds and come out on the other side stronger than ever, with a new vision of his future. Today, Rodney proudly sports these labels: role model, 3-time international best-selling author, acclaimed resilience and reinvention expert, and he's a in-demand keynote speaker. And it didn't happen overnight. So, Rodney, welcome to the show.
Oh, Pat, thanks, man. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
You know, what's interesting, before I ask you a question, I was watching you watch that video, and as it was on, because I could see you in the background here, and I could still see there's emotion when you watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you never forget it, right? It's always there. It's a part of who you are. So, Rodney, I told you I was going to prepare you for this. We saw the video. We did a little intro. Who's the real Rodney? Like, tell us something about the real Rodney. Like,
Rodney. Gosh, well, the real Rodney is a very determined, focused individual with goals and objectives that loves life, loves, being alive and being able to bring forth a contribution, being able to impact and help people with my story. I'm someone that loves to work out. I love to travel. I like movies, and I'm just a lover of life, man. I'm always high on life, and just happy to be here with you, brother.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're grateful and honored to have you. So, Rodney, let's go back. Let's start with a little bit. You're 15 years old. I mean, you've got life ahead of you. You're the star football player. And, we talked a little bit about, obviously football is a tough sport, right? I mean, there's risk and there's injury. And, there's football players that get injured in their older years, high school, college, pro, and yet you're 15 years old, and now you can't. Now you're told you can't walk.
Hmm.
How did you move forward from that? Like, what did that look like? What were you
Uh,
15?
yeah. So there was a series of experiences and things that happened, Pat. But I'll tell you the main thing that happened, and that was I found a purpose to live. There was one day I was lying on my back in the bed in pain, and I asked myself a series of questions. Why was I in pain? And I was in pain not because I was in physical pain because I couldn't feel anything at the time, but I was in emotional pain. And I was in emotional pain because I felt like I didn't have a reason to live. I didn't have a why. I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have anything that would make me feel like, you know, I could contribute to life because this injury had happened to me. And all I wanted to do was just feel better. I wanted the pain to go away. And I started asking myself a series of questions to make the pain go away. Like, what could I do just to make the pain go away? Even if I can't walk again and I have this prognosis, how could I deal with it? And I began to ask myself, what if you just had a better attitude about it? Would that make you feel better? And the answer to that question was yes. And so I asked myself another question. What if you became successful, you know, with this injury and what that looked like? Yeah, you may be in a wheelchair, and you may not be able to move, but you still have your mind. What if you were able to create something that resembled success in your mind and produce that in your life? Would that make you feel better? And I said yes. And that was also inspirational. I felt that it would be inspirational for people. It would be impactful for other people, which, it would do something for me if I could impact people in that way. Um, and so that led to another series of questions about what if you overcame it? What if you were to walk again? What if, regardless of what the doctor said, you recovered far beyond their prognosis? Like, how would that make you feel? And it was like, wow, that would make me feel really good. That would be an amazing life. And I'm like, well, why don't you just try that on? Like, why don't you just take that on? Because even if you don't get to where you want to go, like if you don't walk again per se, the attempt would cause you to progress far from where you are right now, potentially.
Right.
And you don't have anything else to lose by doing that, right? You're at the bottom. And so it can only get better for you. And the worst case scenario is you put forth effort, you make some level of progress, which would be great. And that's it. Can you live with that? And I was like, yes. And so I decided to be that person and I adopted, hey, I'm a walk again or die trying. And you know, here we are, several years later with a list of accolades, able to walk again and impacted, you know, a ton of people. And it actually makes the injury worthwhile. I mean, I'm grateful for that opportunity to be in a space where I can impact people and help people and give them hope and inspiration and show them and an example of what's possible, which has now become my life mission.
Yeah. Well, and here's something that you said that I pick it up. You impact people, you coach people, and you weren't asking yes no questions. You were asking what if questions and
Mhm.
what questions and how questions, which really opens up the mindset, right? I mean, because without the mindset, you're probably toast, right? Without the right mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I asked a series of, there were the right questions, and I didn't realize they were the right questions at the time. But now that's what I teach is, you have to ask yourself when you're in that place of adversity, you have to ask yourself the right questions because it can lead you to the answer, lead you to the solution that you're looking for. And what you find is that your adversity is not adversity at all. It's more of an opportunity.
I see.
And then I think, yeah, and I think that's what we should look for when we're faced with adversity and challenge. You always want to look for the creative opportunity. For me, I wanted to give myself the opportunity of possibility. You know, it seems like there's no hope. It seems like all hope is lost, but what is the opportunity of possibility? What is that little thing that I can do, or way of thinking or being that will create some level of possibility for
Yeah.
me that I can take advantage of and I can explore that. and see if I can create some level of progress in that area.
So let me ask you a question. From the time that it happened at 15 to the time that you walked, what was that window of time?
18 years.
18 years. Now, and I figured it might be a little bit longer, and that's why I asked the question. So here's the follow-up question. 18 years is a long time to be committed to one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You obviously had setbacks during that time.
Sure.
And and I'm tying this into our listeners and the success of Sen. It's always a journey upwards, and yet it's never directly upwards. It's sometimes backwards, sideways. What strategies or what did you implement to stay with the journey for 18 years?
Well, for me, it was very simple. It was either stick with the journey or give up. And there's no value in giving up. And so if I were to give up, I couldn't expect anything in return. There was no expectation. And I had a ton of expectation by continuing to move on. And so that's what I focused on. I focused on what was possible. I focused on the expectation of getting there and what that would be like and what that would feel like. And it was a vision that I created for myself beyond the obstacle. And I was just committed to being that. And I knew that as I became more developed and I learned new skills about overcoming adversity from a mental standpoint, the more I would progress and the more that I would, experience and the more people that I would impact. And so I just kept going in that light because it just seemed like the logical thing to do that gave me the greatest return. And then it gave me joy and it gave me happiness. Whereas if I was to give up, that was misery. And,
Wow.
I didn't want that, I didn't. And so I focused on what I wanted and I was committed to it. And I made a declaration to be that guy. I asked myself, who would I need to be in order to walk again? Who would I need to be in order to be successful with this level of injury, with this challenge, with this, in the face of this adversity? Who do I need to be? And so I took that on as a responsibility to be that guy. And every day when I looked in the mirror, I would ask myself, am I being that guy? If I'm looking at my results and I'm not getting the results, I have to look at, well, what am I doing to prevent those results from coming forward? And so I took full accountability and responsibility for where I wanted to be in life and getting there and for going through the process of getting to that destination. That was all I took full responsibility for that.
So Rodney, why do you think many people, it's so easy for them to quit? Like, what are they missing?
Well, I think first of all, I think they feel that they can't get there for some reason. There's something stopping them or preventing them from getting there. And I think it all is stemming from the perception they have about the issue at hand. We look at adversity as something that is holding us back, stopping us from moving forward, taking something away from us.
Right.
That's the perception we have. And so I think if we can change the narrative around adversity, adversity has a negative connotation about it, right? Challenge and obstacle. But if you're a person like me that loves to work out, you understand that resistance is your friend. It doesn't feel good to be around it at times, but in the end, if you're around it long enough, it's actually going to make you better.
Right.
And so when you create a landscape that, hey, these challenges and obstacles that I'm facing, that's what's going to make me better. That's what's going to make me grow. That's what's going to make me, allow me to get to the next level in life. And so when you have that approach, when you're approaching challenges in that mindset, you're looking for that opportunity. You're looking for the growth. You're looking for, where am I weak and I can become strong, and you don't lose confidence in that. Right. A lot of times when we get hit with an obstacle, hit with a challenge, especially if it exposes us, now we want to play small. We want to, go back to the sideline because we feel that we're not adequate enough to deal with the challenge. But that's okay. The challenge just exposes an area where you can just apply some focus and attention, and then you overcome. And so now we can be grateful for that experience, because otherwise we wouldn't have realized that was an area that needed attention.
Right. So it's that opportunity. It doesn't happen to us, it happens for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So, so let's talk about, so, it's funny, what I've heard you say already is your heartfelt desire to impact people. I mean, I can feel it. I mean, and I'm not just saying that. I mean, I can truly feel it. I'm kind of, getting goosebumps as you're talking, because I think about the opportunities that we all have, and yet you had a deck that had some cards like stacked against you, and instead of folding, you went, no, I'm going to impact people at a whole different level, and I can feel it from the heart. So as you've developed this, you've now committed yourself to impacting other people, right? And you're doing that at a very high level. What have you found in that journey that's been kind of surprising to you? I mean, here you overcome this injury, and yet you're leading people, coaching people, talking with people to overcome things that don't even compare to what you experienced. So what surprised you about in that journey?
Well, I don't know if it surprised me, but what I realized is that people are going to deal with challenge and obstacles differently, and for some people, things can be very debilitating. Very small challenges can be very debilitating, and it requires a level of skill to navigate those that they may not have at the time. But resilience is something that can be learned, right? And so just because you're in a place of challenge and it's been difficult, perhaps you've tried over and over again to overcome, and you feel like you just don't have the skill set to do it, it's something that can be learned with the right coaching and the right training, the right people around you. You can develop the mental strength and the mental muscle to overcome a challenge. And so you don't have to get out of the game. And most people want to get out. They don't want to play the game when it gets tough, it gets hard. They don't want to play, but that's the game that you want to play, because that's going to make you better. I remember when I was playing sports, I wanted to play against the best competition, because when you play against the best competition, most likely you're going to lose. And it seems like you lost, but those are the games that you gain the most, even though you lose the game, because you learn so much just by being in that experience. And so one of the things that I encourage people to do is, when they're facing those challenges, is to hit them head on, and be okay with not figuring it out the first time. Be okay going through the process. Be okay with having a little bit of uncertainty, realizing that the game isn't over. As long as you're still breathing, you have breath in your body, and you're able to put forth the effort to overcome. You're giving yourself that opportunity to learn what it takes to get through it. And over time, if you just stick with it, you will develop the mental muscle. Through the law of repetition, you begin to gain the skill set to overcome if you just stick with it long enough. Most people don't stick with it long enough to overcome. If it doesn't happen within a certain period of time, they throw in the towel. They quit.
Yeah. Well, you said something, and I'll use the analogy, and it just kind of came to my mind using the football analogy. Think about the quarterback who throws an interception. They go to the sidelines, but they're still on the field. They're still playing the game. They don't run into the locker room and pout and sit by their locker, right? And what you said is, sometimes we just frankly have to stay in the game. It really is about staying in the game.
And you have to have short-term memory. A mistake doesn't mean that you've lost the game. It just means that you've made a mistake. But what can you learn from the mistake?
Right.
Resilience is all about bouncing back from challenge, bouncing back from mistakes, bouncing back from denial, bouncing back from failure. And so if you can adopt the mindset to bounce back from things that don't go in your favor, eventually you will experience things going in your favor, because just by the law of averages, if you continue to do this over and over again, it will work out for you. And so that's,
I keep buying the lottery ticket. The law of averages is I'm going to win sometime.
No, it's a little bit different, but it's funny. It's funny that people will spend more time buying the lottery tickets than betting on themselves.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true. You mentioned resiliency, and a mutual friend of ours, Adam Markell, talked about that. And so something that I learned, I had the perception that resiliency was just persevering and breaking through, and it's actually the recovery part, right? It's the
That's right.
recovery from that. So let's shift gears a little bit, because we've been through a time in the last year, and frankly, we're still in it a little bit, right? We're in the change of our lives, right? Let's hope we don't have any more change like this in our lives to this degree for this long. But we have a lot of people facing adversity. We have a lot of people facing challenges, business owners working their entire lives to build a business, and it's, basically evaporated. You have a process to help people get through adversity and challenges. Talk to us about that.
Well, yeah, I've developed what I call the game changer mentality system. And what it does is it sort of walks you through from the moment of impact when you've faced this challenge, then the challenge that's actually beyond the challenge. So you're in a challenge, and what I do is I force you to create some vision beyond it. And then it walks you through, who do I need to be in order to accomplish that vision given the circumstances that I have, right? A lot of times what we're looking for is outside changes to happen in order for us to accomplish what we want to accomplish. But see, the real magic happens on the inside, right? We don't live, I have this thing where I don't live from out here, meaning in my environment. My environment is not what's controlling me and dictating how I think and the rituals I place in my life and the behaviors that I have and the way I perceive life. It's all driven from in here. Okay. So the obstacles or the challenges, those are just variables in the equation that I have to navigate. And I have to be the type of person that can navigate those types of changes. And so this system allows you, it gives you certain tools to navigate those challenges and obstacles when they come up in order to continue to score. I believe that we're all on this field of adversity, and that's what life is. Life is, you can't get through life without, having these challenges and obstacles. And so who are you going to be on the field? What type of player are you going to be? Are you going to be the type of player that whenever, you get hit, you want to, throw in the towel, you want to go on the sideline, maybe you want to go in the locker room, and if you are that person, it's because you just haven't developed the skill set to navigate the obstacles and the challenges or the resistance that may show up on the field. And so this is something that prepares you to play that game. How do I, develop the skill set or the mindset or, have the tenacity to be a player out here on the field of adversity. And so that's what the game changer mentality system is all about.
So I think I heard you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, and if somebody, like somebody hears this and they say, okay, I love it, Rodney, and I want to get started. And yet what would be the first thing? And what I heard you say, it's really the vision. Because you said that when you created when you first got injured, it was the vision to walk again.
Yeah. And so I believe that whenever you're facing a challenge and you're in a place of uncertainty, the first thing you want to do is create a level of certainty. Well, how do you do that? So how do we create certainty when there is no certainty? And it's a beautiful thing because uncertainty is like a blank canvas. You don't know what the outcome is going to be. You don't know, how it's going to happen. But the beauty of that is you get to create something. And so you get to create a vision of what it is that you want your outcome to be. Right. And this is opportunity for you to think big and to think, if the constraints or the resistance was broken down, what would you want out of this? What would be the outcome? If you can create that in this situation, what would you want that to be? Okay. And so now when you get that vision beyond the obstacle, it's about what is going on within this obstacle or this challenge that I can leverage. What's the good here that I can leverage in order to get me over this mountain to the other side? Yeah. And you'll find that there's things there that you can leverage. Like, for example, how can we get beyond COVID? Well, a lot of us are using, technology that we haven't used before. We're using teleworking. We're using, a lot of different things that, didn't really exist before COVID. These are mechanisms that have come up as a result of COVID, but it's because of the vision that we have to get beyond it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we want to develop that philosophy with the challenges and obstacles that exist in our lives, okay, individually.
Right. You said huge aha for me, because I think it now looks different. Most people don't look at uncertainty as a blank slate. And the
Yeah.
fact is you have to look at uncertainty as a blank slate. Otherwise, you're looking at uncertainty in a certain way that probably doesn't lead you to anything positive.
Yeah. So uncertainty creates a lot of vulnerability. Vulnerability creates a lot of discomfort, and discomfort can lead to paralysis.
Right.
Okay. So when there's no certainty, there's no one telling you how to do or what to do or when to do and all of those things. And so now you feel like, what is it?
What's going to
Right.
happen?
Yeah. And so that's living from out there. That's the environment
Yeah.
dictating how you move and how you behave and
Yeah.
and how your life is ran. And so when you live from in here, however, your vision is dictating those things.
You
It's
get to choose.
who you want to become
Yeah.
as a result of your vision, of having this vision. That's what's dictating you. And see, you can get to a place where you have a lot of comfort in that. Okay, you have a lot of confidence in who you are becoming and what you want. And so, and that's how you create purpose in life. We talked about, creating that purpose or creating that why to get up and to do whatever is necessary in order to overcome an obstacle, overcome a challenge. If you look at people, that that have overcome insurmountable challenges, they had a vision and a purpose that they were so committed to that it was unbreakable, and
Right.
that made them unstoppable. And I think a lot of times, because we don't have that,
Yeah.
then we're not willing to put forth the energy and the effort, or we don't have the longevity, or we don't have the commitment to stay out there on the field and deal with the things that are out there
Right.
on the field in order to score, in order to win, in order to overcome.
Well, the reality is the story of uncertainty is what we play out, and the discomfort and all
Absolutely.
of
Absolutely.
that. So Rodney, let's shift gears a little bit. What's the best advice you've ever been given that hopefully you followed?
Wow, the best advice that I've ever been given. Wow. I've been given a lot of advice in my life. I think the best advice that I've been given is to take full responsibility of the things that are happening in my life.
Okay.
Regardless of if I caused it, regardless of what it is and why. It's to take responsibility of it and, own it.
Right.
Own it 100%, and then figure out what you're going to do to change it.
Because it's a learning opportunity, right? I mean,
Yeah.
everything is a learning opportunity, and you're right. Even though we might not have caused it, we're a part of it, and so take responsibility for it. I love that. So let's flip that upside down, as we always do on our show, and we say, what's the absolute worst advice that you've ever been given that hopefully you didn't follow? And if you did follow it, the bad advice, what did you learn?
Gosh. I tend not to focus on negative things, so I can't even
People
think
don't,
of
by the way. This is a real challenge for people.
Oh man, I really don't know what the worst advice that I've been given.
Well, I actually, the doctor who told you 92% of people who have this injury aren't going to walk again. That's pretty bad advice.
Yeah, well, it was. I guess so. I mean, if I had to choose something, that would be it.
Yeah.
That was horrible advice and a horrible prognosis. But I think, not to toot my own horn here, but if I didn't have the mindset, if I didn't have that purpose that I shared with you earlier,
Yeah.
I didn't have the team, the people and the support around me, then that prognosis would have became a reality for me.
Yeah.
And so I'm just grateful for that opportunity to overcome. I'm grateful for that happening for me, for the people that I've been able to touch and affect as a result of that, and just grateful for the people that have supported me through it and didn't give up on me and encouraged me and inspired me.
Well, Rodney, oh my gosh, I can't imagine all the people that you've inspired over the years. And, I look at, the conversation today, and we're going to kind of tie this in a ribbon here. And yet the things I've taken away today, 18 years, that's a hell of a commitment, my friend. I mean, that really, and I'm sure there were times when, it wasn't easy to keep going. And I'm sure there were times where people, with the best of intentions, said, kind of gave you permission to give up. And I just look at that and I look at my own life and go, wow, I don't have that type of commitment. I just that's a commitment, man. So
Well, what
know,
I did, Pat, I there was a point in time where I detached from the time.
yeah,
Because you just stress yourself out.
yeah,
It's going to take the time it's going to take. Let the time go. And when I found out when I let it go and I just focused on getting better every single day and
yeah,
just knew that at some point in time I would get there and I'll get there. When I get there, it made it less stressful for me,
yeah.
and I think when you're associated with a certain time, it could cause you to want to give up if you don't meet that milestone. If it goes beyond that, you're not willing to continue.
Well, it makes perfect sense, right? You're not sitting there watching the clock and yet still, day after day being committed to doing what you needed to do to build the muscle to work through everything. I mean, it's just an impressive commitment. So,
Yeah.
and by the way, you get to toot your own horn when you're a guest on a podcast. Just so you know. So Rodney, I'm gonna thank all of my guests for being here. I'm gonna give you time here to think of that one last thought, if you may. So, as you know, listeners, we so appreciate your support, and we love you to subscribe at the www.thesuccessascent.com. Go to your favorite podcast source. We have them all at our website. Please give us reviews and ratings. We love those as well. So Rodney, as we put a ribbon on the show here, and you've been amazing. I mean, I've taken so many notes and so many things away. What would be one final thought you would share with our listeners to take away from today?
Well, I would say that, hey, find a creative opportunity in whatever it is that you're dealing with right now. We have to change our perception about what it is that we're facing. And I think that perception is everything. Perception is reality. I was watching a show on Netflix. It was one of those discovery shows, and it showed how it was an episode on colors, and it showed how we as human beings will look at a flower and it looks white, and then it had these special cameras that could display how an insect or a spider or something and the color that they would see when they looked at the flower, and it's completely different from what we would see. But the thing about it is, what we see is reality for us, and what it sees is reality for it. And so if you want to change something in your life, just change your perception of the thing. Okay. Yeah. And that's your choice. If you want to choose to look at it negative and debilitating and preventing you from accomplishing what you want to accomplish, you are choosing to do that. All you have to do is flip the switch and choose to see it in a different light, in a different perspective. And that begins to, provide more opportunity for innovation, for creativity, for learning, for development, for growth, for progress. And so the choice is yours whenever you're dealing with, these challenges and obstacles and how you view them and how you see them. So choose wisely.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, Rodney, thank you so much again for everything that you shared with us today. We had your website up, rodneyflowers.com. You obviously contribute to companies. You're a speaker. You're an author. I want to mention the book, Get Up. I love the title. I can't, I will, I did. And so please go to your favorite source and pick that up. Rodney, thanks so much for being here today. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Pat.
Yes, I always end my show with be happy, be healthy, be safe. Until next time, take care, everybody. If you've not yet subscribed, please go to your favorite podcast source and subscribe to The Success Ascent, or simply go to www.thesuccessascent, and that's ASCENT.com, thesuccessascent.com. Thanks so much for joining us today. We look forward to catching you on the next Ascent.